Hi guys, my name is Sheldon and I'll be creating my second Raspberry Pi cluster. The first one you can find on my GitHub. I'll have it linked somewhere. This is also my first YouTube video, or at least where I'm actually doing something. So please, I hope you guys don't mind the lighting and stuff. And this is being recorded by a DJI Osmo Pocket. So nothing fancy there, but I just bought it today and so far it seems amazing. So I hope this is good enough. So let's start. Let's start off with a whole bunch of this stuff. It's all in plastic and first need to remove all of that stuff. So I'll have a list on what I bought exactly for this project, and you'll be able to find it on my GitHub or in the blog or down down at the bottom of this video. Yeah, let's start unpacking this stuff. So yeah, just HDMI to micro SDMI. Let's start with those first. Clean the plastic. Gotta recycle, of course, so plastic is plastic. I've got two HDMI cables. HDMI to micro or mini or whatever it's called. Put that away as well. I've got a USB to type M cable. So this will be for the switch. I will be powering my Raspberry Pi cluster with a Anker power port, and this will hook up into the power port to give power to the switch. So yeah, this one, let's see, we've got a bunch of UTP cables. I hope, by the way, this will be long enough. This is half a meter. Yes, I am in the Netherlands, so I will be using the metric system. And no, I won't be trying to calculate whatever it is in feet or whatever. So let's go unbox this stuff. Next. Cables, cables, cables. Just kidding. Oh, maybe not. That's a lot of plastic. Oh, missed one. So there, we got our UTP cables, HDMI cables, and USB Type M. Then I've also got this. Yeah, the heat sinks for the Raspberry Pis. I've got the power button that I'm going to use to connect all of the Pis to this power button so I can shut them down gracefully with one button. But yeah, so definitely need this. I am waiting on some fans, so I hope cooling fans, of course. Hopefully I'll get some more fans here as well, but I'm waiting on some cooling fans for the Pi, so for now these will have to do. So I don't have everything. I'll leave these in here because they're small. I also have a whole bunch of USB cables because the Raspberry Pi uses USB-C. These are USB-A to USB-C cables. Get these out. There you go. They are quite thick cables, so of course you have to make sure that with the Raspberry Pis that the cables can handle some of the charging power, of course, because you don't want your cables to be the cause of any low power for your Raspberry Pis, because it can't handle the amount of power it needs to draw through the cables, or stuff starts melting or whatever. So they're fairly thick, strong, good USB cables. Okay, so we've also got a whole bunch of these bad boys. These are the SD cards for the Pis.
If you're going to use SD cards, just make sure you use a class 10 SD card. And of course the write speeds will differ, so just check out whatever the specs are that you're using. But I chose the SanDisk Extremes.
So now to the good stuff. The Raspberry Pis. Oh, I kind of dropped them a bit hard, so that kind of hurt me as well. But yeah. So Raspberry Pi 4 Model B, 4 gigs of RAM, and 6 of them. So this is going to be quite a powerful little cluster. Let's get this stuff. So also, I usually recommend when touching electronics that you either make sure that you're not statically charged. So you can, I've got a socket to my right and I just touch the earth pole and it should discharge. Or you can wear one of those electronic thingies and then mount that to something metallic or that's grounded. But as a best practice, I usually just don't try to touch the board that much. So let's see what this is. Yeah, like it says, touch the board carefully. Low temperatures, electrically charged. Look out for that. But for the rest, the safety and user guide. Well, nobody needs that. So let's continue. Nobody uses the user guides, of course. There we go. 6 beautiful new Raspberry Pis. Dual HDMI, so you can have 2 monitors hooked up. USB-C, 4 gigs of RAM. Awesome. Boop. Awesome. Okay. We've got some more stuff. Let's continue. Ribbon cables, because I know I'm going to need to do some wiring. So you can just easily plug that stuff in here and then maybe connect that to the power. That's fine. And there's more. We got this hard drive. Let me take my very useful nail clipper. Very multifunctional toenail clipper. Yeah. So this is a 1 terabyte hard drive. We'll be using this for storage because the Pi, or at least one of them, will have external storage, or I might do something like create an NFS server or whatever I'm going to do with the application, and then have this be the persistent storage for the Kubernetes cluster that'll be on here. Because yes, this is going to be a 6 Pi Kubernetes cluster and we'll be running K3s, of course. So we will need this. Of course, you can use stuff like local storage and the local pod provisioner for K3s, But we are just going to add actual persistent storage. So even if the pies get reflashed or whatever, everything will still be there. Next up, the Waveshare LCD screen. Touch LCD screen. So we've got some brackets, or at least some stuff to some mounts. This is an HDMI cable, a flat flexible HDMI cable. Oh, there's more. I almost threw it away. More mounts. This will be USB-A to micro. And let's see this baby. This will be inside of the case. So yeah, awesome. Ooh, shiny. As you can see, there's a TV above my head. So that's not my face. I'm not a woman. And I'm not two people. So yeah. What's this? So this actually comes with a case. However, I don't think I'll be using this. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Let's find out together. So I'm guessing this is to stick on and protect stuff later on. I've got no real clue. If you do, let me know down at the bottom of the video in the comments. And like I said, guys, this is my first video. Please be kind. I don't want to get booed off of YouTube with my first video. This is just me creating a cluster. But okay, I'm leaving this one in here because it's a bit more sensitive for until we're done. Let me put it in the back. Let's get to the power supply. The Anker power port. Anker, whatever you want to call it. Power port 10, because it has 10 USB. Dude, I like boxes like this. They're very cool. Okay, so we've got this thing at the bottom. Oh, okay, that's easy. Didn't have to pull out the handy dandy toenail clipper. Awesome. Yeah. Welcome guide. Yeah, basically it says plug it in and plug other stuff in. So this has a output of 5 volts and a maximum of 12 amps. 2.4 amps max per port, because we will be hooking up 6 pi, so they will be drawing quite some power. Let's see, let's move this away from here. Well, the box I used to fill up of the trash just got full, so 10 ports. Anker, awesome. Extra thingy. Let's just put that around here for now. Cable stuff. Throw this this out. Okay, well, we got our power. Oh wait, let me put the LCD stuff back in that LCD box before I lose all of that stuff. Okay, then we've got a switch. D-Linko. Didn't know it was that name. D-Linko. By D-Link. So yeah, D-Link. I've never heard of D-Linko. So it's just a switch, a gigabit switch, so we can hook up the pies to a. For this one, we do need the handy dandy toenail clipper. I might get a knife next time. But yeah, this will just be for the pies to connect to each other. So let's see what's in here. A guide, warranties, and more stuff. Okay. I love this part. Oh yeah, that hit the spot. Nothing fancy, just a 8-port switch, because one of these pies will be a DHCP server, and then we'll hook up all of them and they'll get their own IP addresses. At least that's what I did last time, so I don't have to use the wireless modules on all of them, and that way they all just connect to each other. So I think I'll do it again this time. So this is the adapter, but like I said, we've got this USB to Type M, so hopefully, yeah, so this thing can be powered by 5 volts. Now I can hook this up into the Anker power port, and eventually all I need to do is have one power cable, one, to actually run outside of the case, so we don't have multiple cables or extension cords or whatever. So that's why we did that. Don't really need this, so I'm throwing that in a drawer. One more thing for now, because like I said, I'm still missing some components. I'm actually missing the blinked LEDs and the fans, but yeah, for now this will be it. So this is the again a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard, a small one, so this should be able to fit inside of the case, or at least I was hoping it was a bit smaller, to be honest. This is kind of thick, but we'll see. Ooh, it does have quite some travel, so hey, it works. It's good enough. Oh no! My precious. I hope I didn't hurt anything. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, so that's what happens when you unbox on top of unboxed stuff. Stuff crashes down. And yeah, a little mouse with the, I think it's Bluetooth, yeah, Bluetooth adapter with it. And that's all there was in the box. So, the user guide, yeah, I guess everybody knows how to use a keyboard and mouse, so bye bye. Okay, so this isn't too bad actually. Might even want to use this for my own keyboard. Better than a MacBook keyboard. But okay, so everything's unboxed. I did forget one thing, because of course it's going to be a Raspberry Pi cluster, but we need the actual case. So here it is. This is the case it's going to be in. This is the box, or the case. It's waterproof and strong as something. So, as you can see, it has foam inside. Try to pull it out. So I will be cutting this up, and more foam inside. I'll be cutting this up and putting the Raspberry Pis in here somehow. Make it all fit. Let me see. Does this thing fit? Ooh, it does fit. Maybe this will kind of like slide in the front, or maybe in a slot in between. I think in between, or else, yeah, whatever. It'll fit. So that's good. This will also fit somewhere. The mouse, we'll just put that in somewhere. Because what we want is for this Raspberry Pi cluster to come with me on the road, to go on site, or to go to conferences, and to demo whatever I need to demo for anything K3S related. So as you might already know, or you don't if you haven't looked up my LinkedIn or whatever, I work for Rancher Labs, that is. And one of the projects we've got out is K3S, which is our lightweight Kubernetes distribution. And this means that we'll be able to run Kubernetes on the edge. And I need to be able to demo that stuff. So that's why I'm creating this demo case. So as you can see, it opens up and it basically stays like this. So even when I go to a conference or go to a demo, all I do is flip it open and it will stay. This is where the screen will actually be, and you'll immediately see the screen and some of the LEDs and whatever the audience needs to see. So yeah, this is a better view. So this is the bottom, this is the lid, as you can see. This will contain the screen, and I'm guessing all of the other visuals I'll have up here. So I'm guessing the LEDs will be in here, and then run the cables through and connect that to the Pis. So yeah, so I can just be like, ha, plug it in, power on the Anker power port, power all of the Raspberry Pis, and then just, yeah, have flawless demos, of course. But yeah, we'll need to see that, because yeah, I've done them a few times already, and the demo gods have not always been very kind to me. But yeah, it's a love-hate relationship, and because when it does go well, it goes extremely well, and when it doesn't, yeah, then you've got people coming up to you at conferences going, haha, nice demo. So yeah, that's also fun. But yeah, guys, so that's it. This will be my K3S demo kit, and yeah, to visualize it a bit, it might be that I'll put on a few Raspberry Pis. I don't know yet if it will be like this, or if they will be slotted or be insert like this. I'll need to figure out what's the best way and also to make sure that the stuff doesn't get hot and burn the actual foam. I don't want this whole thing going up in flames, of course. And yeah, so stay tuned.
Yeah, so here I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to set up the wiring. Um, Also trying to look up maybe if I can do something about the cables, because the Ethernet's going to stick out quite a bit and it's going to make it fit badly. And also the same thing for the USB-C cables, of course. They stick out quite a bit, so I want to have them on an angle too if possible. And I think I should be able to get them to fit this way. It's quite a snug fit with the 6 pies in this case, but I think I should be able to make it work if I just get an adapter of some type for the USB-C and the Ethernet cables. Since I kind of know how I'm going to lay it out now, it's time to go to buy some stuff. So let's go in and try to find some plexiglass or something like that. So I need something to fit the pies on, and I think I found it. So these are the things I bought: the plexiglass itself, some screws, Stanley knife, and I think I might need the washers, and well, maybe I'm going to try to use the pins to pull out the whole setup when it's all installed. Now let's go and mark off the dimensions of the foam, or basically the size of the case on the plexiglass, so we can cut it out. As you see, I don't have a laser cutter or something available at this moment, so I'm just going to do it the way I can at this moment, and that means just using a Dremel to mill it out by hand, basically. So I did this in my living room, which was kind of stupid because there was plastic flying everywhere. So I tried different stuff using the blade or using the mill. I think, well, I don't know which one ended up being better, but eventually I got it cut out. What you're also seeing, which was a bit annoying about the DJI, is that it drifts. I don't know why, because later on it didn't do that anymore, but well, now you're seeing it's over time it's just drifting downwards, and you'll see that in the later videos, well, some of them at least as well, so it might slowly drift away from whatever I'm trying to video.
Of course, if you've got a laser cutter or something like that, just use that. This is just a whole lot of work for nothing.
trying to learn from my mistakes here. So I got the vacuum right by my side, because the first one I did, well, it was plastic all over the place. So I thought maybe this way it would be less.
Hey guys. Okay, now we're back and we're going to try to fit the plexiglass, or at least polystyrene piece, to the case. So, here we go. So first of all, the case I have just happens to have screw holes. So that's really amazing. So we're definitely going to use those. This piece is going to be covered by this one. So I don't need the piece that looks the best. However, I think I'll still need to use that one.
So for this part, I'm going to cut a hole in the middle, because this is where the cables are going to actually pass through. And I need a bit of a slot, so everything will fit through there as well. Well, yeah, so peeling off a lot of stuff. I could put the front and the back on it, however the front's completely white. I wish it was black, because of course the foam's black in the front and I don't like that much of a contrast, so I'll leave off the front part and just mount the LCD to the back plate and mount that to the plexiglass. So then I'll put the foam around the screen itself. Yeah, so this is me cutting the screws down to a smaller size and trying not to burn the carpet. So this is Velcro, really strong Velcro, and I'm going to be using this to attach the power supply and the switch and the hard disk to the case actually. So here I want to test if I can actually attach the Velcro to the foam and then attach that to the plexiglass. However, well, as you saw the first test, I could just peel the Velcro off, and the Velcro is actually so strong that it just rips the foam and it doesn't keep sticking, which of course was a bit obvious. So now I'm actually going to do the first test run. So turn on the Pi and see what it does and if the screen works. And apparently it does. So of course I had to quickly take a picture. So it's pretty it's a very nice screen actually. So I did make a mistake on this at this point, because the USB cable is for the power and the touchscreen. So don't put it in the Anker power port, but put it in the Raspberry Pi.
Okay, so today I got a new box with a whole bunch of stuff. So first of all, a USB-A extension cable, because the cable, the power cable for the screen for the display wasn't long enough for me to pick and choose where I want to put my power, where I want to put the Anker power port. So I just wanted to extend it. The power cable for the display has like this thingy on it. I'm guessing for yeah, to either adhere to some emission rules or they need it for some reason. I don't know, but I don't want to just put in another micro SD cable. So I'm leaving the cable it came with, but I'm using an extender to give me a bit more room for the USB for plugging in the power. I've also got a few of these cables. And what are these cables? So Let me open it up. So to give myself a bit more wiggle room inside of the case, or at least to make it all a bit more, to sit in its place better without things overlapping, I bought a few of these Ethernet cables with a corner, so I can plug them in and then have the Ethernet cable go down instead of go straight out. So this is much better. Unfortunately, you only figure this stuff out after buying it. It's a good thing these cables aren't that expensive, because now I've got a bunch of these Cat 6 cables, which I guess I'll just use for the next project. So that's not a problem. But these are like €1.30 or something like that. So it's I hope my boss doesn't get angry at me for going a bit over budget. So what I also had to order was these little guys. So also for giving me some more room to play around with the cable. So instead of the USB, the power going straight out, I can now have it go to the side by plugging in this USB. Let me statically make sure that I'm not statically charged. So now I can plug this in like this and have the USB cable actually go sideways instead of straight out. So now I can put the USB cables, I can put the Ethernet cable and the power supply and make it go in a different direction. Wait a minute. This is annoying. I'm seeing that this is going up and not the other way around. Down. Oh, that would have been so much better. Okay, but I guess now I'll just have to do something like this, and then it'll be facing up, but then I'll just kink the cable so it goes the other way. That's too bad. It would have been much nicer if it was just inserted this way. And of course, I can create my own cables and just whatever, but I'm not. So we'll have to do with these. And at least this one does work as expected. So with the USB at an angle, I can just plug in the power cable like this and have everything set up next to each other without having this protruding. So this is all great stuff. If you're going to make this yourself, you can also buy this stuff, or just use a bigger case for your project. But for me, I went the easy route, or at least the easy route, maybe the bit more expensive route, because these are €4 a piece, something like that. So it does cost a bit more money, but in the end, you do have a setup that is much more, that's just much prettier. It's all just, all of the cables are set up correctly and not moving all over the place. So I like a clean demo environment because I'll be using this at conferences and on site, and maybe at clients for demos and rancher rodeos, and who knows where I'll be using this. So I just want something that's so that I'm proud to actually show around. So let me. I was missing one more, so 6 of those. Awesome. And what I also got was a bunch of these spacers because I'll be mounting the pies to the plexiglass on the bottom layer on the case. So yeah, just for like airflow and stuff like that. I just bought a few of these, so I've got the option to space out the pies to determine the height of the pies as precisely as I want. So yeah, that's it. I'll be mounting almost everything now. I think first I'll have to create some. I'll have to draw the holes for the mounts for the Raspberry Pis, and then I'll probably mount them to the plexiglass. I'm still waiting on some parts that should come in this week, because I also was mistaken. So the previous version I just bought the Raspberry Pis, the 3B Plus, and you could just buy these cooling these heat sinks, just stick them on there, put a fan on top of it, and it's done. However, I didn't notice that these heat sinks are different for the Pi 4. So be careful that when you buy the heat sinks, that just don't click and buy heat sinks. The chips you want cooled have different sizes, so the standard heat sinks aren't enough and aren't the correct size, because this thinner, longer chip would have a different size heatsink, and this small one also. So yeah, if you're going to use heat sinks, buy the correct ones. It'll be a 4 or 5 set with a few different sizes, or like I did, I bought the heatsink or cooling case with fans in it, so we'll see those as soon as they get in. So cool, let's move on.
So I finally got my cooling fans. So let's see what's in the package. Okay, some screws, Allen wrench. Okay, and then the top plate. I got some double-sided heat tape, whatever, and then two cooling fans. Awesome. It's really small. It looks good. And then the back plate. Okay. I don't think I'll need that back plate though. Yeah, so like I thought, I didn't need the back plate. I can't screw it through the plate, so I just use the screws to tighten the pie and the actual front plate to the plexiglass. So yeah, that seemed to work like a charm basically. So of course it would have been nicer to have everything together, but then it wouldn't fit, or I might need to drill a hole and maybe tap into the back plate and then screw that to the plexiglass. Yeah, that was just too much work. Yeah, as you can see, these USB cables are way too long and are really thick, so it makes it really hard to fit it all. Um, but yeah, while searching, these were the almost the only 3 amp cables I could find, and I didn't find the smaller ones or the shorter ones, so I thought, yeah, I'll make it fit. But yeah, I would definitely try to find or just use smaller cables next time, because the thing is that this thing has to fit in quite deep, so um, so the LCD doesn't hit the cables sticking out or hit the Raspberry Pis. So everything needs to fit inside of the box quite nicely. So it needs to go down quite a bit. So that's why I'm now struggling to, yeah, get the cables a bit nicer together and use tie wraps to put all of it in one place. However, as you'll see, I'm going to change this again, because pointing them all down wasn't, it might have looked nice, but it sure wasn't great for letting it fit. So I was also planning on putting the foam in between the plexiglass and the cables. So that's why I also put the cables in the middle, because the plan was to put the foam, to make one hole in the foam, and then have the cables pass through that, and then have the plexiglass sit on top of the foam, and then under the foam the cable should be. However, because of all of the cables and the tight fit, eventually I will remove the foam completely. However, because the plexiglass is see-through, you'll see the complete mess underneath. So I'll end up changing that. Well, I'll end up fixing that later, but you'll see that when we get there. Yeah, so I'll be adding the blinked, or yeah, it's called the Pomodori blinked LEDs to the case, and for that I need to have the wiring for that setup as well. So those are the wires I am threading now. So I think it was a ground, a 5-volt clock, and data. I think 4, yeah. So 4 wires per LED, and then yeah, to those, from those 6 Pis to the 6 LEDs that I'm going to mount inside of uh, the lid of the case. So when I open the case, you'll actually see the LEDs, so I can, well, demonstrate whatever I need to demonstrate with the LEDs. Yeah, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to be attaching a couple of wires together. So these are 2 wires per Pi that I'm going to all attach to each other. They're basically all 6 ground wires and 6 wires that go to GPIO 3. And if you basically connect those 2 wires, it will wake up a Pi if the power is connected to it. And if you create a script for it, you can also put your Pi to sleep gracefully. Uh, but I don't know yet if I'm going to use it for that, but I did use it in my last project, and it was very useful, or else you have to turn the Pis off one by one with your terminal, or of course with a multi-terminal, something like that, or with a script. However, the button was eventually easier to just gracefully shut it off at the same time. So I'll need to be connecting those wires. So I'm just going to add all of the grounds and all of the GPIO 3 wires to each other, and then add that to the button. And when you press the button, you're actually going to be shorting those two. and then it will either wake up or put your Pi to sleep. So what I'm doing here is actually, after I soldered the wires, I used hot glue to, well, put that whole bunch together, just to make sure that none of the wires will touch each other. So yeah, the hot glue is very easy to then use if you don't have any insulating tape or um, something like that. Cool. So this is how it's meant to be. Um, the foam in between the plexiglass and the blade and all of the cables. So the wires you're seeing here are the ones that are actually for the LEDs, but I haven't connected those yet because I haven't created that. Those two are for the power button, so I'm not connecting anything at the moment. I'm just putting the wires a bit nicely, well, away. um, but yeah, so it's 2 wires for the button and 4 wires for the LCD, and of course then we have the gray wire for the USB, and yeah, one of them has the HDMI cable connected to it, and of course the Ethernet cables and that stuff. So this is the first time powering them on, which was of course pretty useless because just one powers on and that's the only one you actually get to see. But it looks great, and this was basically the look I was going for, so I'm only going to keep refining this. to the PCB, or at least I'm soldering the pins I know that aren't going to be connected to anything. So this is not something I will be connecting. This is just to mount it to the PCB. So as you can see, I'm now sticking the 40 pin header through the hole, and then I can attach the LEDs to that, because there, of course, as soon as I insert LEDs, I won't be able to pull it out either, because the LCD itself sits on top of a PCB as well. So I'm just making sure that everything is straight now, so I might change and move it around a bit so I know my LEDs will be straight when I put them in. But yeah, so what you're seeing is that the plate I basically made, the PCB with the header on it, I'll be mounting that to the plexiglass with 2 screws, and then attach the PCB or the LED to that. Okay, so here I actually pulled everything apart, because this is what I meant with, this is when just before this is when I figured out that I needed to remove the foam from the bottom, or at least most of it, so I couldn't use that as a layer in between everything. So I needed to either get an opaque plexiglass, which I didn't find, at least at the place I bought this one, or I need to make it dark somehow, and yeah, which I'm going to do. So I just bought some duct tape, black duct tape, and I'm just going to tape it up so it's so you can't see through it anymore, which I think is too bad. If everything would have been perfect underneath without a million kilometers of wires, I might have left it see-through, but it's not nice enough to leave it see-through, so I had to remove everything and actually yeah, tape it up. So I think this is exactly where that happens. So tape it up first, and then I'll have to drill some holes through the tape, because it's of course quite sticky. So I need to pre-drill the hole so I can put in the screws for well, the pies and of course the holes for the cables and all of that stuff. Okay, so I'm actually putting tie wraps through the plexiglass as well. So I made some holes so I can put the tie wraps through the plexiglass. So after I mount everything, I can also route the cables and tie them to the plexiglass itself. So you can't see it now, but because I had tie wraps going through the plexiglass, when I had all of the wiring done, I could just put the tie wrap around that and then tighten that to the plexiglass itself so the wires don't move. So the hole I also made there, by the way. So after I did my first LinkedIn post, I think it was a video of the first way that it was wired. I already saw that I wanted to change the way that the wires to that first Raspberry Pi went, because it annoyed me that it went, well, it went into the Pi and then to the hole in the middle. So there was one wire that was very, well, strange in the bunch. So I thought, no, I'm just going to make a hole and it's going to go straight into the Pi and it's going to be less distracting. So I did, and that ended up looking a lot better in the end. Well, guys, the hardware is almost done. I'm just finishing up the last things and then I'll be booting up and testing the software. So first things first, I made a few changes after the initial setup. So what you're going to see in the next clip is me testing out the Pixie boot. So what you're seeing here is, of course, the first Pi, the master, connected to that screen on the actual case. And now I'll be powering on a client, and that client is just going to be net booting off of the server, meaning that 5 of my Raspberry Pis don't have an SD card, and I've got one master that has an SD card and an SSD attached to it, because currently I can't boot off of USB yet, so it still needs an SD card in there. However, as you can see, it works. So I've got one master, 5 clients, and all of them boot off of that one server, meaning that I can change stuff very easily and test around the different operating systems for the other Pis. Of course, you can find all of these changes on my GitHub. So while making these videos, I tweak some stuff afterwards. So you can find an updated shopping list on my GitHub and all of the other details for other specific parts. And here it is. So this was actually at Microsoft Ignite at the beginning of this year, 2020. And here you can see I'm using the RGB LEDs to, well, demo that there's an application running on one of the clients, and if I pull the power, Kubernetes will reschedule that application. So all in all, this was a success, and I hope to create a couple of new cool demos soon. So thanks a lot for taking the time to watch this, and until next time.